Have you ever wondered how second language acquisition can be succeed? Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Ghina, Malfa, Lina, and welcome to my video. Today, in this video, I would like to explain about several aspects that affecting on the success of second language acquisitions. Second language itself is the next language that someone learned after they acquired and they mastered in the first language, sometimes second language called as the target language. And as a teacher, to help learners or students acquire in the second language, we have to know and consider some or several aspects that affects on the second language acquisitions. First of all, we will talk about the language environment. The quality of the language environment is divided into two main things, which are macro and micro. First of all, macro is the general characteristic of the language environment. First of all, we'll talk about naturalness. Natural environment is when the utterances focus on the content or value of the communication. It usually happens subconsciously. And natural environment can increase and engaging more in second language communication in the most simple way, such as daily conversation. But sadly, there's still a lack of peers in using those target language and ineffective and non-understandable communication. Also, silent period. Second of all is about the learner's role in utterances. For the success of students' language acquisitions, they needed to be directly involved in direct communication, which are divided into three types. First of all, one-way communication. It happens when learners only listen or read the information from target language. One of the example is read a book and watch a movie, so they have no response for that. Second of all is restricted two-way communication, when learners can respond but in their first languages. Or if they cannot respond verbally, they can respond non-verbally, such as by nodding. Then the third of all is full two-way communications, when the learners finally can speak and respond in the target language. So in this case, learners can be a recipient by receive those information in the target language and become the sender by using and speaking the target language. Based on the research that has been done, it suggests using one-way and restricted two-way communication in the beginning of language learning process. But then, if the students have ready to produce some things in the target language, then the teacher may use full two-way communications. Third of all is concrete reference. In the process of learning a new language, it needed an extra linguistic elements in order to help students in understanding meaning or strange sounds in the target language. Concrete reference can be such as subjects and events that can be seen, heard, and felt while the language is being used. Concrete reference can help to make the meaning of the target language become more clear. And in conclusion, concrete reference such as gesture, demonstrations, sound, and repetition is needed for children language learning process. Last but not least, there is target language models, which divided into three. First of all, peers over teacher or the communication with the teachers. Second of all, peers over parents or the communication between parents and the learners. And the last of all is peers in social group or the communication between learners and their peers. And knowing this, now which one shows the most significant effect? Surprisingly, children tend to learn more language behavior, such as dialect, from members of their own peers group, and speak the language as the utterances used by their social group or their friends. And then we move on into micro. Micro is a specific characteristics in the structure of language. First of all is salience. Salience is a particular characteristic that seems to make an item more visually or auditorily prominent than others, such as amount of phonetic substance, positions in the sentence, but sadly the salience of the items cannot be used to predict their differential acquisitions order. Second of all is feedback. Feedback is response to the learners. There are three feedback: correction, positive feedback, and the last of all is modification or expansion. And those three variety of feedback not giving much impact on the second language acquisitions. The last of all is frequency. It's a number of time learners hear or see a given structure. The more learners hear a structure, the sooner it will be acquired. Relative frequency of occurrence may not be directly related to the learning order of structures in the language, but extremely high frequency may have an effect on the learning. Then we will move on to learners' internal processing. The language learning process in human is invisible. It's a process that happens inside our mind or brain. That's why the only thing we can do is observe it and give our best methods or strategy about this mental or brain process. First of all, we'll talk about filter. Filter is a subconscious screening process towards target language. Which target language models they will select, which part of the target language we will, how fast language can be acquired. Filtered divided into two. First of all is motivation, which means as a willingness, reason, or goal to achieve language proficiency. And there are three motives: integrative, instrumental, and social group identification. High motivation lead the learner to absorb a maximum information from the target language, and it helps them to filter the unnecessary language part. Second of all is emotional states. It affects what the learners admit to learn or continue the language learning process. The less anxious the learner is, the better language acquisition achieved. The more relaxed and comfortable the learners are, they're more capable to learn more in shorter duration of time. And then second of all is organizer, which is the internal processing system which is responsible for the learner's gradual organization of the target language system. It's simply how much the brain capability to absorb an information. And it divided into three. Transitional construction, which is temporal structure used by learners before a structure of target language fully acquired. And this is the most important part in controlling the second language acquisitions process. Second of all is the errors. It is a weakness of learners when produced in target language. The error comes from the hardest part to be learned and acquired. The acquisitions order of structure, limiting what can be learned to new material that fits into the growing organizations of the target language systems and rejecting non-fit materials yet into the emerging systems. And then we'll talk about monitor. Monitor is a part of internal system from conscious linguistic process. Learners can use their knowledge of their first language structure to produce or to formulate second language sentence or utterances. But sadly, when someone is overly monitored themselves, the language will be less acquired. Then thirdly, we will move to age and personality effects. Each learner is a different individual. They have different personalities, characteristics, especially while learning languages. Even if they are learning in the same environment, the same time, the same process, but the output will be different. Talking about personality effects, it divided into three, which is self-confidence. Learners who have higher self-confidence and less fear is more succeed than who are not. Their mindset it's okay to make a mistake. That's why they become more successful in learning languages than others. The second is tendency to analyze. Persons who are able to perceive or look for solutions to problems in language learning on their own, or called as field independence, appear to be more apt to acquire communication skills through subconscious learning. The third of all is empathize. It's a capacity or tendency to participate in others' feelings or ideas. Empathy indeed became an important factor in second language learning if it manifested in the development of communication skills. It was shown by researchers that it will yield a more systematic and positive relationship between empathy and second language acquisitions. Children is in golden age. Why? Because children's brain is still virgin and can absorb a lot of information. They can produce or have a better sense of native. But children only can produce something that they have received in concrete input. Children also learn better by explicit learning, while adult still has a possibility to acquire at the same level as children, but maybe it needed more time, effort, and strategies. Adults have a strength that able to think concrete and abstract. Adult is more disciplined, cooperative, and independent learning. So actually adults have more motivation than the younger one. Natural environment shows that younger learners perform and progress better only if they have received sufficient input. While in formal learning environment, adults perform and progress better in the short duration where explicit learning is concerned. There are several possible sources. First of all is biological explanation. There are fundamental differences between adults' brain and children's brain. That's why it impacts their process in language learning. Second of all is cognitive explanation. In cognitive, adults shows more acquire in language learning because they can use patterns to produce in their second language. Like what I have told, adults can think abstractly and concrete. Number 3 is affective. Adults actually can produce more available language input than children do, but sadly many adults choose to stop language acquisition effort earlier. Then number 4, differences in language environment factors. Children get more here and now or more understandable and simple input, but adults typically are exposed to conversation about non-linguistic topics, which became the reasons why adults can manage and adjust also modify conversations more than children. And last but not least, the role of the first language. The presence of a first language in the past mostly notates as an interference when someone learns as foreign or target language. However, several studies have been done to prove that a first language can be more valuable now. With the presence of a first language, someone can enrich their language and communicative skills. First of all, it's about negative transfer. So, negative transfer happen when the first language and the second language is having a different structure. Okay, so first of all, it's about negative transfer. How it can be happen? Negative transfer happen when the structure of first language and second language is different. So one of the example in English we said the clever boy, and the Indonesians will be said anak yang baik. Actually it has the same meaning, but because the users is introvert with the first language, when producing the second language, he said the boy clever. So yeah, it's wrong. So negative transfer result in the wrong structure. Second of all, we will talk about positive transfer. It happens when first language and second language structure is the same. The use of first language in producing second language result in correct meaning or utterances. One of the example is both of Spanish and English add plural sign s or es when they want to produce plural subject. Based on psycholinguistic. Native community. Native community result in less error and less ambiguity grammatical structure. So, and then it's true when children produce less first language in producing second language, but it can be caused by they have less vocabulary and knowledge in first language. Third of all, first language of learners doesn't affect their judgments of grammatical correctness. And then last but not least, pronunciation is much affected by first language. Sometimes someone pronounce second language word in first language dialect. Borrowing switching is a sociolinguistic phenomena when two languages communities in the same context. Borrowing is using one primary or first language and mixing it with other language words or ideas. It occurs in the lexicon, while code switching is when someone switches back and forth between two languages at the same time. Both of those languages produce or speak at the same fluent level. It occurs in the syntax level or the utterance construction level. And last, questions 5 hypothesis. First of all is acquisitions or learning. Adults have two ways to succeed in two languages, which are by acquisitions and learning. Acquisition is by using the language and learning is by knowing about the language. Second of all, monitor. In the learning process, we may develop a monitor, an error detecting mechanism that scans utterances for accuracy and correctness. Then, natural order. Natural progression or order of language development exhibited by young children acquire the rules of language in predictable order. It consists of 4 levels. First of all, pre-production or silent period, and then early production, and then speech emergence, and intermediate fluency. And then, affective filter. Affective filter is a screen of emotion that can block language acquisition. But humans acquire language in only one way, which is understand the message from an understandable input. The success of second language acquisitions depends on several factors. First of all is the language environment. Second of all is the learner's internal processing. The third of all is age and personality of the learners. And then the last of all is the role of learners' first languages. Understanding all of these aspects is necessary in order to enhance more in teaching strategies or teaching methods and improving or increase the learning outcomes.